This is getting absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I've said multiple times on this channel that you could tell a rumor is true if you're hearing it either from Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport, or if it's consistently repeated over and over again through a couple of months. And in this instance, it seems like as a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, your worst nightmare has unfortunately come true. Now, before we get to the content, I'm starting to post my NFL news and memes in the form of shorts onto my Instagram story at The Flight Mike. So I highly recommend you check that out if you want to just get your quick little bit of news on the go. We do that on TikTok at Microphone NFL as well. And of course, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to support the channel. Now that we get all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Guys, I don't want to sound like a broken freaking record, but in order for us to really understand what's going on, I need to take you back to this one little thing I said in my last video. If you recall, in my last video, there was a bunch of craziness going on in the front office of the Jacksonville Jaguars. It seems like Shad Khan is really trying to die on a very strange hill, and that hill is by hitching his wagon to a general manager that just doesn't have a good reputation, doesn't have a good history of drafting players, didn't do a good job in this past NFL draft. Apart from drafting Trevor Lawrence, we always bring up the fact that Travis Etienne was selected with the other first-round pick despite the Jacksonville Jaguars having a running back that rushed for over 1,000 yards in James Robinson, and the fact that a good running back is nice to have. It's not necessarily what you want to build your team around, and it's not necessarily what you want to spend a first-round pick on when you just drafted Trevor Lawrence. I mean, draft a wide receiver, draft an offensive lineman, draft anything but a running back. But in addition to this, it seems like the Jacksonville Jaguars' incompetence has reached a brand new low. If you recall, towards the beginning of January, around the time where the Jacksonville Jaguars fans were getting really upset and ended up doing a clown out during probably the Jacksonville Jaguars' most impressive win, might I add, there's this report that came out that suggested the fact that sources have told Pro Football Network that the presence of general manager Trent Baalke is limiting the pool of candidates open to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, reportedly, a number of prospective coaches do not want to go to Jacksonville if Baalke remains the GM. Bear in mind that on the cover of this article is Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien is not even linked to the Jacksonville Jaguars at this time. He's set to become the man that replaces Josh McDaniels on the New England Patriots because Josh McDaniels went over to the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Las Vegas Raiders are going to try to build New England 2.0 in Las Vegas because we all know how well that tends to work out, right? I mean, I really wish all the success in the world to the Vegas Raiders because you guys went through this past year, and I love Derek Carr, but I digress. This report was literally from a month ago. It was in the beginning of January, and as time progressed on, we kind of forgot about the report. And then interview requests were sent out, and both of the coordinators for the Dallas Cowboys were requested for an interview. Kellen Moore said, sure, come and interview me. Dan Quinn said, no, I'm not interviewing for this job. That's when we started to think, okay, what's going on in Jacksonville? Well, as time went on, there were a number of candidates that the Jacksonville Jaguars were zeroing in on. Probably the most popular candidate, in my opinion, for Jacksonville would be Byron Leftwich. Now, the reason for this is he worked with Bruce Arians during his time with the Arizona Cardinals. He worked with Bruce Arians and Tom Brady during their time in Tampa Bay together. I don't know how responsible he was for the play calling because I don't mean any disrespect to Byron Leftwich, but they didn't really run the standard Bruce Arians type offense when Tom Brady was there. It was very similar to what they ran in New England with Tom Brady. So originally I was a little bit on the fence with Byron Leftwich, but it sounded like a cute story. Byron Leftwich was the Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback in the mid 2000s. As a matter of fact, Jags fans were so excited about Byron Leftwich that his jersey started flying off the shelves once again, which I think is absolutely adorable. Unfortunately for the Jacksonville Jaguars, last week we got this report from Chris Porter, FCN, that says a source tells him that Byron Leftwich is the Jacksonville Jaguars' #1 pick. But the holdup is over who will have control over the roster. Leftwich wants Trent Baalke out and the Jaguars to hire Adrian Wilson, who is the vice president of pro scouting with the Arizona Cardinals. Now, no offense to Chris Porter, I don't really know him as a big source in the industry. Rap Sheet then came out and reported that the Jacksonville Jaguars didn't even contact Adrian Wilson. But I do believe the fact that Byron Leftwich was the Jacksonville Jaguars' top pick. But unfortunately, it seems like none of that even matters anymore, because according to Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times, a man that's been very legitimate with all reportings that had to do with Tampa Bay, going all the way from Tom Brady's retirement up until this very report right now, which I trust him personally, Byron Leftwich is expected to pull his name out of consideration for the Jacksonville Jaguars head coaching opening. And the exact tweet is, hearing Bucs offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich is expected to remove himself from consideration for the Jaguars head coaching job soon. Former Raiders interim head coach Rich Bisaccia and former Eagles coach Doug Peterson remain strong candidates. Now, my top pick for this head coaching position was Jim Caldwell. I absolutely love what he's done throughout his entire career. He's had experience with Peyton Manning. He's had experience with going to Detroit and probably giving Matthew Stafford the most successful stretch of his career post Calvin Johnson. So I truly believe in Jim Caldwell's ability to utilize Trevor Lawrence to the best of his abilities. Now, I love the idea of Rich Bisaccia. I do believe this man deserves a legitimate chance. Any head coach that was able to take the reins of the Las Vegas Raiders after the craziness that happened with John Gruden and the craziness that happened with Henry Ruggs and the craziness that happened with Damon Arnett deserves to be a head coach in the NFL. All of his former players speak highly of him, and I would love to see him get a job because he did a wonderful job with what he was given. But we need to focus on the thing that is really disturbing to me, and it's the fact that the Jacksonville Jaguars aren't choosing a head coach that plays to Trevor Lawrence's strengths. They are looking for a head coach that could work best with Trent Baalke. This is such a bizarre hill to die on. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this in my career. The reason why this is so baffling to me is because it's not like Trent Baalke is a remarkable executive to begin with. He's credited with running Jim Harbaugh out of town after taking the San Francisco 49ers to 3 straight NFC championships. There was this other report of the Jacksonville Jaguars trying to pick up Vic Fangio to potentially fill in as the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars instead of Byron Leftwich. Honestly, more power to Byron Leftwich, because being a head coach in the NFL is a very volatile position, which is why I gave a lot of credit to Urban Meyer for giving it a go with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was a legend in the area for what he did with their college program. He had a great opportunity to coach one of the most transcendent talents in NFL history, and it just didn't work out, unfortunately, for him. But the Jacksonville Jaguars are a remarkable coaching gig, and at least Urban Meyer has the answer to his question. Is he a good NFL head coach? Probably not. But in Byron Leftwich's case, if you find yourself in a situation in Jacksonville working with a general manager that, with all due respect, isn't a good general manager, then you can completely screw yourself for the rest of your career for future head coaching positions. You don't want to hitch your entire career onto the Trent Baalke wagon. I think there's going to be a great head coaching position that opens up for Byron Leftwich eventually, and more power to him for being disciplined enough to realize that, hey, this isn't the job for me. At the same time, you have to bear in mind that, for all you know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could stink next year. And if they stink next year, then Byron Leftwich might not be getting vetted as much. And I bet you this is something that's going through his mind. And despite that, he still doesn't want to coach the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't know if this is a power play to try to get Adrian Wilson as his general manager, to get Trent Baalke fired. I don't know what this is, but this entire scenario is bizarre. And once again, for I think the 3rd or 4th time this month, we're making a video on how the Jacksonville Jaguars are ruining their franchise and ruining Trevor Lawrence. And it looks like the Jacksonville Jaguars finally found their brand new head coach in Doug Peterson. This is, of course, according to Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter. And it seems like Trevor Lawrence is very excited about this himself, even tweeting out, "Let's get to work. Welcome to Duval. Great days ahead." The Jaguars owner Shad Khan said Doug Peterson 4 years ago won a Super Bowl as head coach of a franchise in pursuit of its first world championship. I hope Doug can replicate that magic here in Jacksonville. But what is certain is his proven leadership and experience as a winning head coach in the National Football League. It's exactly what our players deserve, nothing less. Combine this with his acumen on the offensive side of the ball, and you have why I am proud to name Doug Peterson as the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know our fans will warmly welcome Doug and his family to Duval, and I personally look forward to having Doug as part of everything we envision for the team, downtown, and the community in the years ahead. So it's really interesting because my initial thought was, okay, Trent Baalke finally got a person that would get along with him, but OBrien goes on to say that the Jaguars and Doug Peterson were connected at the start, and Jacksonville was seen as a likely landing spot then. Peterson's interest cooled a bit with the Jacksonville Jaguars sticking with Trent Baalke. Will be interesting to see if Peterson gets someone like Rick Spielman to come with him. In my opinion, Doug Peterson isn't a bad hire. I mean, you have people saying, oh, but he tried to tank a game on national television, and oh, he wasn't able to make it work with Carson Wentz. But if you take a look at what Carson Wentz did in Indianapolis, I just feel like the marriage between Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson wasn't destined for success to begin with. So I'm not choosing to look at this through that lens. However, what is a little bit more disappointing for me is the fact that the Jacksonville Jaguars chose Trent Baalke over Byron Leftwich. And for all you know, this could be a home run hire. For all you know, Doug Peterson has tremendous success in Jacksonville. And the Jacksonville Jaguars are a remarkable organization with a ton of salary cap space, Trevor Lawrence, warm weather. There's pieces in place for this franchise to be successful, but there's still the same pieces in place for the franchise to be a failure. And that's Trent Baalke and an inconsistent and unstable ownership. I would give this hiring a B in the sense that I don't really think it's what the Jacksonville Jaguars were hoping for. It's not like a culture changing hire. Well, I guess any hire that's not Urban Meyer is culture changing. But if you brought in Byron Leftwich and Adrian Wilson, or you brought in a brand new general manager as well, that would be something to be excited about. But for now, we're going to see what Doug Peterson does with Trevor Lawrence, because any head coach is an upgrade over Urban Meyer, but it is still kind of telling that the Jacksonville Jaguars chose Trent Baalke over their top head coaching pick. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this, man. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.